Welcome to Houston Newsmakers Extra as we continue the conversation with Gaby Rowe, the project lead for Operation Connectivity. That is the state effort to connect everyone on some level to broadband access. We were talking about that on the program, Gaby, and we talked about the need for the politics of it not to get in the way of what's being done. Money is often a big issue as it relates to that. So let's talk about the dollars and cents that you suspect is going to be necessary long-term to kind of help this process continue.
Absolutely. And quite frankly, it's the money that's gotten in the way in the past. So it's a great question. We have to pay attention to this. So Operation Connectivity has gone a long way to infuse $400 million into this problem, which is a big chunk of money. But when we start talking about broadband and rural access to communities that cannot afford the per house costs that most internet service providers are looking for to put in new towers and new lines, this needs to be done in a legislative way. We have to start thinking of broadband and internet access as a utility, and from a political standpoint, treat it in the same way and put the same dollars against it.
What role you've done, we talked on the program about education being a real big part of what your life has been. You were able to see how different children were impacted, and a lot of it might have had to do with how much money was in their household and what socioeconomic
Absolutely.
category they were in. What role has privilege played in this digital access, and who doesn't? Who does and who doesn't? Privilege is one of those things that we've been talking about a lot more now. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it becomes, I don't know that it's not white privilege, it's just privilege. You just have to say that some people have and some people don't.
Yep. And for years we've been, at least in my world, describing it as the haves and have-nots. And I think that really sums up what privilege is. And in the world of digital equity, it's everything, because it's expensive. And for so many households, having internet in your household or having a device, a computer, and maintaining it and repairing it and replacing it, those are luxuries and costs that you just don't have the money to afford. And unless you have a device that's come through your school or your work or a group that is making donations, there is no way to bring that connectivity into your house. And I think that the people that it affects the most are the ones who are already struggling financially to pay for things like food and power. And we have not made the rules necessary to overcome some of those barriers. So example I love to use is Section 8 housing. Right now, the rules in Section 8 housing say that the developer must make the building broadband accessible, meaning that should somebody want to bring in fiber, they could, but they're not mandated to actually bring it into the building. And those are the rules that have to change, or the have-nots are never going to be able to get over that barrier. And we are increasingly going to isolate our under-resourced communities. And privilege is privilege, but we also have to acknowledge that the overwhelming majority of those under-resourced communities, particularly here in Houston, are Black and Latinx. You look at that through a COVID lens, those are also the communities that have been most dramatically impacted by COVID, both from a safety, health, and employment standpoint. And now we're throwing digital access on top of that as a tool that goes into the have-not categories. That's a dangerous cocktail that I am afraid will prevent their engagement in opportunity going forward, and something we really have to think about on all levels.
This is an interesting conversation for me, because I know that as much as you want to make progress and we want to get dollars and cents in to make this happen, there's an image thing that has to be overcome too by a large number of people, because they would say, you know what, why are we going to give all of this money to this poor community? Because right now you can't give these people this kind of stuff because they're not able to take care of their apartments now. You're going to hear that along the way if you haven't already.
I've heard it many, many times. And my argument is that the people who are using that argument are using it as an excuse. And I have yet to meet an uncle, an aunt, a mom or a dad, a grandparent who is taking care of their children in Section 8 housing or in a mobile park or in an under-resourced community that doesn't want the best for their child. And that means they will do what is necessary to take care of those devices, to make sure that when that device comes into their household, that student is using it. And the same for our homebound and our elderly who need telehealth. Those are not people who are going to be abusing this privilege. We are going to be helping to engage them in society and in some cases save their lives. And I would add that we have to ask ourselves the question, if we give out 10 devices and one of them ends up in a pawn shop, does that justify not transforming the lives of the 9 other people? I would say it doesn't. And so we need to move past those historical stereotypes and do the right thing.
Fantastic opportunity to have this conversation with you. I wish I could just drop everything now and sign up and work alongside you, but can't do that. But at least we can have the conversation and let other people know. How can they get involved with you to make this process a little bit more fluid? What can they do to help you?
Please reach out to Operation Connectivity. It is a group that is going to span beyond this effort that we're in right now. We are connected with a number of other efforts around the city to make connectivity happen for all of the greater Houston region. Also, quite frankly, reach out to me. I am open to hear from anyone who wants to get engaged and involved, and it would be my pleasure to bring you on board with this effort.
I will make sure that your information is on my website. I know that the Rowe organization you've been a part of for years is still what you do, along with Operation Connectivity. So Gaby Rowe, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for spending this time with us this morning.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Houston Newsmakers Extra, share it with everyone you know.